Welcome. My name is Lucy Orrow and I am a Senior Tax Manager at Lambert Chapman LLP. I'm here today to talk to you about the new rules that have been introduced for UK residential properties from 6th of April 2020. These rules are for individuals, trustees and personal representatives of deceased individuals. On the agenda are 3 topics. In the first talk, I will cover principal private residence relief, which is available on the sale of your home, and the final period of exemption, and lettings relief, which looks at renting out your home. In the second talk, I will cover the capital gains tax rules and the reporting requirements on the disposal of your home. So for each topic, I'm going to look at the old rules, as you will remember them, and the new rules that were introduced from 6th of April 2020. Firstly, let's look at principal private residence relief. If you purchase a property that you live in throughout the period of ownership, when you come to sell, you will not have a capital gains tax liability because it has always been your home, and you will be entitled to principal private residence relief on any gain arising. Periods of absence. Relief is also available for periods of absence when they are both preceded and followed by a period of residence. Any period of residence, for whatever reason, that does not total more than 3 years, and any period, no matter how long, where you or your spouse or civil partner have been employed abroad, and any period of absence totaling no more than 4 years, where you or your spouse or civil partner work elsewhere in the UK. Any deemed period of absence only applies where the owner does not have another residence that qualifies for PPR during that period. There is also an old HMRC concession which allows a deemed period of occupation where you purchase a home but cannot move in straight away because of building works. As long as the work is completed within 12 months of you purchasing the property, and no one else lives in the property during that time as their home, you can claim principal private residence relief. This concession allowed a period of up to 24 months to be claimed. I've only ever seen this in action once, and this was for a client who purchased a property in central London, 4-storey property, and needed to completely gut it and refurbish it before moving in. Due to the state of the property, these works took 18 months, and I was able to claim relief for that full period. Under the old rules, when you come to sell your home, if you needed to move out before completion, or you'd already moved in because you'd let somebody have the property, the final 18 months of ownership was automatically exempt under the principal private residence relief rules. This used to be a period of 3 years, but changed a long time ago. It is in place because there's often times when it's not possible to complete on a sale and purchase at the same time. And so it gives the seller time to complete the sale without any tax consequences. I'm sure many have been in such a situation. If an individual is moving into a care home for any reason, the final 3 years of ownership was exempt under the principal private residence relief rules, and this remains in place today. So, now let's look at the new rules which have been introduced from April 2020. You will still get principal private residence relief for all periods during which you owned and lived in your home. So again, If you lived in the property throughout ownership, you will have no tax due on any gain arising and no need to report the sale to HMRC. The periods of absence as mentioned on the last slide have not changed. Other than when you purchase a new property and are unable to move in due to building works. HMRC have now formalised this relief and extended the period to an automatic 24 months, as long as no one else was living in the property as their home during that time. On the previous slide, you will recall me talking about the final period of ownership being exempt, and this was for a period of 18 months. Under the new rules, this has been reduced to 9 months. It is felt that property transactions are much faster than in the past. With the advent of electronic mail, mobile phones, contact with clients, estate agents and solicitors are not so drawn out. The final 3 years of exemption remains for individuals moving into care homes. This is in place to allow time to make the decision about whether to sell the property, and also in case that person is able to return to the property after a period of living in the care home. I briefly mentioned letting out your home in relation to the final period of ownership, and now I will look at the old rules which also impacted on this period. Where an individual had lived in a property and then for any reason moved out, if they chose to let that property on a market rate rent to someone else, it would be possible to claim lettings relief when they came to sell the property. When calculating the gain arising on the sale of residential property, it is always done on time apportionment across the period of ownership. So let's say, for example, you purchased the property in January 2000, lived in it for 15 years, let it for 5 years, and then sold it in January 2020. A timeline is drawn up which shows 3/4 of the gain is automatically exempt for the period during which you lived in it, under the principal private residence relief rules, plus the final 18 months as the sale was before 5th of April 2020. This gives 198 months of exemption out of a total of 240. Lettings relief used to allow additional relief for the period during which the property was let. There are 3 calculations that have to be done to determine the relief available. These are the lower of the amount of principal private residence relief claimed, or £40,000, or the gain arising on a time apportionment basis during the let period. So you often hear about lettings relief of £40,000 to keep it simple, because this is the maximum amount that can be claimed. If the property was in joint names or more than one name, each owner could separately claim lettings relief on their share of the gain. Under the new rules introduced from 6th of April 2020, lettings relief is effectively lost. The relief is still available, but only where you lived in the property whilst it was being let out. To my mind, this would be very rare, although we do still see some rent-a-room relief being claimed on tax returns, and this would be one situation where lettings relief could still be claimed. For most owners who have previously lived in a property and maybe moved out to move in with a boyfriend or girlfriend and then let their home out, this relief will no longer be available to reduce any gain arising during the period of absence. Remember, you can only ever have one home, and if you are living somewhere else and factually this is your home, i.e. your post is delivered there, you're on the electoral roll, and this is the place you spend most of your time, then it is your home, even if you may not own it. Spouses and civil partners can only ever have one home. So this is the end of part 1. So if you or someone you know may be caught by these changed rules, please contact us to have a chat. We're happy to liaise with solicitors and estate agents directly to ease the process and make sure stress levels are minimal. As mentioned in part 2, I will talk about the new rules for reporting the gain to HMRC and some of the pitfalls that I have encountered.